Alabama is paying its football general manager a lot of money, which leads to the question, does UVA football even have a general manager? Hey, Chris Graham here. So I saw a headline on ESPN.com earlier this week about Alabama giving its football general manager a record contract. And that made me think, I don't know that UVA football has a general manager. I don't have to ask about this. So I did what I do. I sent a note to the folks in media relations and got the answer back. Quick answer. No, we don't have a general manager for the football program. So let me tell you what the issue there might be then. A guy named Courtney Morgan is the general manager for Alabama football. And the record contract that was referenced in that ESPN story is $825,000 a year for the next 3 years. The background on Morgan is he followed Kalen DeBoer. I'm not sure how to pronounce that name. He's the new Alabama coach, and I've not heard the name said out loud. He was the coach at Washington last year, was in the national championship game. I just didn't pay attention. DeBoer will go with the guy hired to replace Nick Saban. Not an easy job to have there. He brought Morgan with him to be his GM. He had him as his GM up at Washington for a couple of years. And this GM job, let's explain what that is. Football general manager to college level. What is it? It's a roll up of recruiting director, player personnel director, and budget director. Let's just all three of those roles. He's being credited, Morgan is, with assembling in Alabama what is now the second ranked recruiting class for the 2025 recruiting cycle. And the work he's already done there has gotten him attention. USC, Southern Cal, came calling when Morgan was originally contracted to Alabama. He was making $500,000 a year. After Southern Cal made a run at him, Alabama upped his pay from $500,000 a year to $825,000 a year. For context on what that means, UVA's athletic director makes $1.09 million, so about $270,000 more. She runs the whole athletics program at UVA. She does all that work and budgets and all that stuff for 27 sports, not one. And so Alabama is playing pretty seriously here, right? Now we need us a football general manager trend in the college game is still pretty new. But more schools are seeing the value of having one person overseeing the increasingly complicated player acquisition part of the business. It used to be, I was explaining to somebody today, back when George Welsh was coach, let's go back to just, to the good old days. You had to recruit high schools. That's what you recruited. There was no transfer portal. There were guys transferring at the college level, but there was no portal. And you had a year to sit out. Transfers were just an afterthought. I mean, you might pick up a transfer here and there, but you weren't working the transfer route. You were focused. You had your player personnel director focused, your recruiting director focused right there on the high school game. You didn't have NIL. You didn't have to worry about budgets. And so you had a recruiting coordinator who's probably also one of your assistant coaches, and all he did was he oversaw what the other assistant coaches did. Each assistant coach on the staff is assigned a region to be responsible for in recruiting, and the coordinator would just make sure everybody was doing their job, right? And he probably had his own area to cover as well. Well, in this day and age now, you've got high school recruiting, you've got the transfer portal, which is a 24/7, 365. Everybody's a free agent every year. Until the powers that be in the NCAA figure out a way to change that situation. It's pretty easy to do. Just require schools to, or allow schools to sign guys to contracts, whether they be 1, 2, 3, or 4 years. But all those pieces being disparate as they are, it's just wise to have someone in charge of making sure that there's cohesion to everything that you do there, right? And it's the model is the NFL general manager. In the NFL, the head coach isn't responsible for recruiting the players, signing the players, drafting the players. He's part of that process, but it's just a part. You've got other people doing, other parts of that job. College game is now evolving to that stage. More schools like Alabama are doing this. Texas Tech has a guy making 800,000 a year doing this job, and they're not the only other school doing it. So. People who read our coverage of UVA athletics often ask me to, identify areas where UVA athletics is coming up short. This is one of them. It's another area where UVA athletics is behind its peers.